Всем привет! Вот и начался четвертый этап Гранд-Чес Тур 2017 в Сент-Луисе. Контроль времени 25 минут плюс 10 секунд на ход. Всего играют 10 участников в один круг. А потом будет блиц 5 минут плюс 3 секунды в 2 круга с тем же составом. В этом турнире, значит, играет Гарри Каспаров. Решил тряхнуть стариной. И вот первая партия у него выпала с Карякиным играть. Все внимание, я так понял, в этом турнире будет приковано именно к Гарри Каспарову. Потому что вот прошел первый день. 3 тура прошло, и в основном смотрели только партии именно Гарри Каспарова. Так. Ну, Гарри Каспаров сыграл d4. И вот защита Немцовича. Ферзь c2. И здесь d5. Взятие и ферзь d5. Вот этот ход, конечно, меня удивил. Я вообще такого не знаю. Обычно здесь черные берут ед, получая примерно равную позицию. Но здесь все-таки игра более такая сложная. После взятия ферзем все как-то быстро уравнивается. Еще такой маневр ферзь f5. Если здесь ударить ферзем, то после вот этого варианта c6 e3 здесь абсолютное равенство. У белых ничего нету. Ну, у черных может слон на e6 встать, конь перейти с b6 на d5, например, а этот конь пойти на e4. Позиция равна. Ну, здесь Гарри Каспаров сыграл ферзь b3, решил уклониться от размена, но это все равно ненадолго. Конь c6, слон d2, рокировка и h3. Как видите, вариант здесь нужно аккуратно играть белым. Е3 вполне возможно. Ферзь на f5 стоит довольно агрессивно против короля. Такой это возможный вариант. Да, белые, конечно, задержались в центре. И черные пытаются вскрыть линии. В принципе, позиция равная, да? Вот h3 был сделан ход. А5 играет Карякин. И g4. Неожиданно. Ну, ферзю отступать некуда. Все поля биты, поэтому единственный ход это ферзь g6. Здесь может показаться, что выигрывает конь h4, потому что ферзю некуда ходить. Но на это следует простой удар конь d4 с нападением на ферзя. Естественно, взятие на g6 невыгодно. FG либо HG. Ну, HG, конечно. И у черных отличная игра. Ну, а если отступать, например, просто конь c2, ну, Король здесь в довольно опасном таком положении. Ферзь c4, ферзь c2. Конечно, конь c2 играть нельзя. Из-за того, что ферзь отходить некуда. Поэтому именно ферзь c2 надо играть. А если взять здесь, то ферзь берет на b2. Так, ладья d1, конь d5. Нужно отступать с поддержкой ферзя, поэтому конь b5. Взятие. И взятие на b5. Но вариант еще продолжается. e4. Напали на ферзя. Но есть шах. Шах сюда. И конь спасается. У черных большой перевес. Это варианты, конечно, надо знать. После ферзя 6 последовало а3. а4. Давайте посмотрим, что последует на конь а4. Взяли. И конь d4, да, с последующей вилкой. То есть конем брать нельзя. Приходится брать королем. Потом на шах отходить обратно. Конечно, здесь у черных большой перевес. Ну, последовало ферзь c4. Взятие на c3. Хотелось Карякину сохранить темп. Ну и к тому же конь на d5 может встать. Но если отойти просто слоном, то здесь ферзь будет чувствовать себя неуютно на g6. Можно будет устроить как-то за ним охоту. Вот в первый ход компьютер предлагает ладья c1, чтобы не было хода ферзь c2. И уже нужно как-то думать, что делать с ферзем. Из-за угрозы конь h4. Есть трудности здесь у черных. Взятие на c3 самое простое решение. Здесь было сыграно f6, чтобы дать ферзю возможность уйти. Ладья c1. Тут точно так же здесь могло последовать конь b6 в вариантах, и пришлось бы отступать на c1 в таком случае. Поэтому Каспаров сыграл именно ладья c1, чтобы на конь b6 ответить ферзь c2. Последовало слон d7, заканчивает черное развитие, ферзь c2, размен и слон e8. Но у слона нет перспектив на d7, конечно, он стремится на g6 пойти, откуда будет оказывать влияние хорошее. Последовало e3. Нехорошо здесь играть e4. Из-за конь b6. Здесь пешка на d4 становится слабой. Нужно будет все равно не заботиться ходами слон e3 и коня на f3 держать. Слон g6, слон d3. И здесь можно f5 сразу играть. После чего черные избавляются вообще от всех проблем. И проблемы возникают только у белых, потому что у них теперь после размена останется слабая пешка на d4, а конь получит возможность встать на d5. Сильное поле. Поэтому Каспаров сыграл именно e3. Последовало слон g6, ладья c5. Здесь черные угрожали сыграть e5, поэтому Каспаров предупреждает такую возможность ходом ладья c5. Теперь этот ход нужно будет еще подготовить. Слон e4, слон e2 и e5. Таким образом Карякин решает проблемы. Рокировка. Уходят белые из-под связки. Взятие на d4 и c6 укрепляются в центре. Никаких проблем здесь нет у черных. Ладья e1, слон g6 и слон переводится на более хорошую позицию. f4 решил немножко захватить пространство, но это ничего не дает. Последовало g6. Размены. И вот здесь надо было Каспарову сыграть h4. Позиция была бы полностью равной. Но он сыграл слон d2. g5 в принципе пока что ничего не портится. g5 ограничивая слона противника. Вот. И освобождая дорогу для своего слона. Ну, конечно же, Каспаров не дает выйти ему, поэтому играет слон d3. Король g7, с тем, чтобы разменять этого слона. И остаться с хорошим конем против плохого слона, у которого пешки останутся на черных полях, большинство пешек. b5 вынуждает Каспаров. Пригодится. Теперь пешка на c6 тоже это слабость. Слон f5, ладья отходит. Можно было, конечно, и ладья e7 сыграть. И вот такой вот. Немножко подвигали. И Карякин решил немножко подольше поиграть, сыграв конь f4. Размен, ну, размен практически вынужден, потому что здесь пешка на h3. Можно защитить ходом, например, король g3, но тогда конь d3. И сюда уже как-то играть опасно. Конь c5 есть ход, да? С нападением двойным. А если сюда? Да, конь прыгает везде. Поэтому Каспаров решил именно разменяться. Слон Е4. H4. Все, здесь уже сделать ничего нельзя. Усилиться невозможно. Так, давайте. Да, слон на c2 встал, король f3 играть некогда, потому что пешка на d4 слабая. Здесь просто вынужден был Каспаров согласиться на повторение позиции. Ладья d1, наверное, слон c2 опять же можно сыграть, да? И ничего сделать нельзя.
Black's real attack, as far as I'm concerned, is on the light squares. But how does he do it? The e4 pawn is not so easy to get at. White's going to be able to defend it with bishop to d3. And how are the knights involved in dominating the light squares? Because you've made this big exchange, bishop for knight, dark squared bishop for knight. That means you have extra light square defenders. So I don't see where Black gets his real counterplay if White just stays put, develops his pieces, because
behind those broad center pawns.
Yeah, absolutely. Where is the attack on the position? Black's looking desperately for breaks. His only real break, well, the two looks like e5 and f5. If White just deals with those two, Black's not doing anything.
And just to make Black's life that much worse, the knight on c6 is actually in the way of the c pawn, and the c7 pawn can be a very big hit if White ever gets to play the move rook takes c7. White crashes through not only winning a pawn, but getting a really big initiative. Sergei definitely on the back foot here as he's facing the move e4, and he's got to determine where to put the knight, I suppose.
But it's White's move.
Gary still hasn't played e4,
Gary is going
and
into
now
a
he's
huge
going into
tank,
time pressure as
which
well.
is now if Garry Kasparov in top form drops e4 on the board
Easily,
right? Quickly, easily, confidently. Right now he's and this is a sign, potentially a bad sign for his fans. Him taking this long in a rapid game to play a move that is the critical move of the position. Clearly, he's calculating as much as possible right now, making sure that this move is a sound move. And if not, if he's already determined this move to not be sound, then he's looking for other moves that give the same punch in the position. And it's not. It doesn't look like there are a lot of them. That bishop on g6 looks like it's going to be a great piece.
Exactly. No, I'm a bit confounded by Gary's very slow reaction time in a position where not only is e4 compelling, it may well be forced.
Yes.
I mean, bishop g6, bishop e4 is a very clear, and that has to be stopped. And e2, e4 not only stops the threat, but it creates a threat for White, which is the tempo against the knight on d5. e4 is automatic. Come on, Gary.
I mean, look how
my explanation.
he is.
Maybe he knows he's going to play e4, and he's kind of looking ahead a little bit because he thinks knight b6 is 4, so he's going to pound some really quick moves after e4 and put the pressure
already
on Sergei. And we see him actually shaking his head. You're right, Maurice, though. A 7-minute think in rapid is kind of the equivalent. And as we know, you don't take too many 30-minute tanks in a classical game. So this is it. This is the one opportunity to tank.
It might even be worse. I mean, an 8-minute think is a third. Okay. A third of your time.
Especially when you consider the fact that you only have a 10-second delay instead of that 30-second delay.
So it's
and
more.
There's no.
More. If you have a 2-hour time, 120 minutes, it's like a 40-minute think.
That's right.
And that's unacceptable for this part of the game. Even if you have to make some kind of move, just a move. Right now, he's in crisis over a position that's even good for him.
I'm not sure about fathom what it is that Gary's calculating. Gary is a maximalist. He's always looking to really put his pieces in the most ideal spots. So I'm sure he's considering the following line. e4, knight b6. I don't like the move knight e7. I'm sure he really wants to play this move bishop f4, and he's calculating a line that may well go e6, e5, bishop back, drops back to g3. What's the idea? Now if you take the pawn on d4, want to take and on c7 and undermine this knight on b6. He's probably calculating some very deep line that goes like this.
Look at the faces he's making right now. He looks disturbed, addled, frustrated. Something is he's seeing in his head that's that may be a ghost or maybe something he actually concretely sees. But if what you're talking about, if e4 is your first move and then you just get to make a next move, you don't even know where the knight's going to go. Is it going to go on b6 or
yeah,
e7?
Exactly. So why not just play e4?
Put the onus on your opponent. Just play the move e4 if it's sound. If you're not losing material, play the move and then let the guy make a knight move and you figure out where you're going to go from there. But if you just continually sit, is it a 10-minute thing?
Not time management, not at all.
Precisely what we were disturbed about. It's not about the openings. He's going to get good openings. He's going to get decent openings at least. And he's already proven it here. It's about his form.
Is there something he's thinking? What do you think? Is there something he could be worried about? I mean, that line with bishop g6 just looks really bad, right?
Right. Well,
so that's not it.
So what is Gary thinking? Gary's thinking he's got a great classical central pawn duo, his two bishops, but he's also thinking, where's Black's counterplay? And Black's counterplay is going to be centered around this move f6, f5, trying to bring this rook in the game and take advantage of this knight on f3. The knight on f3 is disturbed, then the pawn on d4 is vulnerable.
True.
So Gary is trying to calculate, for example...
But weren't you trying to play bishop b3 here?
I was, and let's imagine f5 immediately.
And then knight g5 I have is kind of annoying, and then if
then
you have f4 though, so this is...
So these are the types of lines
this could keep you up at night.
He's calculating them. He's calculating them very, very deeply, and something about this whole complex of moves is really disturbing Gary, because e3, e4, e2, e4 is, sorry to put it that way, an automatic. He really should not be thinking so much about this particular move.
And now your other idea, is after knight b6, you mentioned after e4, knight b6, bishop f4, e5, you mentioned this cagey move, bishop g3.
Right.
And now...
He's moved. He played
E3.
E3, and he's not happy with it at all. You see him shaking his head there. E3 allowing bishop g6. This must come as a surprise to Sergei, who was worried about the move.
He played
e4, and he played it instantly, and now rook c5.
Allowing that bishop to get into that lovely square, bishop e4, both attacking and defending.
Defending the knight on d5 as well as attacking the knight on f3. Okay, so there was obviously something very concrete about e2, e4 that did not appeal to Gary.
Your f5 idea.
Maybe, yeah, well, I mean, that could only have been it, but e2, e4 was so compelling. Bishop e4 played very quickly. Sergei, by the way, power to him, kudos to him, has made these rather forcing moves very quickly.
Bishop e2 and
Bishop
immediately
e2,
by Gary.
Defending the knight. Now, one thing for Gary's choice, I do like, by the way, is that rook on c5 does put the kibosh on any of these knight a5, knight b3 ideas.
Sure.
You're not going there thanks to the bishop.
It's like an outpost rook in a way. But,
yes.
But a lot of players after bishop b4, they would play bishop g2 instinctively. Can you explain why Gary decided to put the bishop on e2?
Not really. Bishop g2 would have been my choice, but I suspect that Gary didn't like that maybe the bishop would slide to the square d3, stop him from castling. Obviously, the bishop would actually be much happier on the g2 square. And that's the only thing.
Playing a la Karpov right now,
right,
with restraint, e3, rook on c5, stopping knight a5. Very solid on e2. He clearly plans to castle with his king and then bring his rook into the game. So this,
now your f5 ideas.
Here's the question, though. This is the big challenge. What about the move f7, f5? You certainly do not want to capture when rook takes f5. Really, oops, that's a painful hit against the knight on f3. I suspect that Gary has rook g1 planned, and in case of takes, he's planning the move knight g5 with all kinds of threats to the bishop on e4, the pawn on e6, and then to recapture either with the bishop or the pawn on g4.
And that would be really good for white. So after rook g1, though...
well, I'm saying f5 is the challenge, rook g1 is the answer.
Okay, and then after rook g1, let's see, do we have anything better here? I'm looking for ideas like f4, with the idea that if you take, then the d4 pawn is now loose.
Knight g5 move.
But that same knight g5
still
knight
here.
g5 is a real move. The pushing of that f pawn, weakening the g5 square, is going to be important. Remember, we talked about this already. Black wants to attack on the light squares, and he has a picturesque position with his minor pieces all on light squares, as Gary has now gotten up from the board That's going to cost him seconds anytime Sergey moves, but Gary's known to not like to sit at the board. I was the same way as a player. I got him just about every move. As a player, didn't want to sit there feeling constrained. Gary is that Gary prowl. He's looking at other boards now as though he said, I solved the problem the way I wanted to. Let me go take a look at other games. And now back to business, playing in very solid style. But as I was saying, the bishop and the two knights in Karyakin's position, as the crowd is just a throng right now in the playing hall, they're on light squares, but the knights don't really want to be on light squares per se. As E5 has now been played, and Gary instantly castling in response.
Wow.
Amazing sequence now as we're seeing a transference of the position from this situation where now he's still on these dominant light squares. Interesting by Sergey, he's opened up the game and allowed the bishop to get into the game, but he's gotten a solid position. Again, look at those light squares that those pieces are on, as Gary has the two bishops, but primarily his bishop. How effective is it in this position?
This is our classic outpost knight. There are no pawns that can attack that knight. Therefore, it functions as a much stronger minor piece than a knight that can get kicked around. Like, for instance, in the variations where Gary was playing E4 and we couldn't find stability, not on E7, not on B6. So this is a very interesting transformation. And what do you think of it, Yaz?
No, the knight on D5 is the very definition of stability, protected twice by the pawn on C6 as well as the bishop on E4. White has the two bishops. There's an isolated queen pawn. I would say that Sergey has clearly equalized at this point, and he should be happy about the E2, E3 decision by Gary, and I think Gary's not going to be very pleased about the outcome of what he's achieved with White.
That was a masterful exchange of the knight on C6, which didn't have any potency. To be able to trade that piece off, it was a piece that wasn't saying anything, sitting on that square, potentially pinned. And this particular maneuver, being able to trade off that knight with E5, was absolutely brilliant to get.
Choice.
He got this move in. Now we see the light square weakness that is compounded by the fact that White has only one minor piece that can attack on the light squares, and Black looking to further accentuate his grip on those light squares. And White's dark square superiority, looking at this board, doesn't look relevant. Doesn't look relevant at all. That bishop on D2, not a star, and it won't be a star for any time soon.
Well, let me just put a series of moves on the board. F3, bishop back to G6, bishop to C4, bishop back to F7. I'm going to play rook E1. White has no desire whatsoever to trade his bishop for the knight going to bishops of opposite color. What I would like to do if I was White is I'd like to seduce Black into the option of taking over the E file, where if we see a rook trade, then this rook on C5 actually has something interesting to say about the position. This rook on C5 can swing over to A5, prepare to go to the 7th rank to harass this pawn on B7. Again, I think the position is pretty balanced overall.
But Gary instead played rook to E1. So starting out with rook E1, and now some quick stability issues, as you mentioned,
no
super
F2,
staple
F3.
Knight on D5. We've got a 401k there.
401k.
But what about this move, rook E1?
A pension?
The knight is set for life.
Yeah, now we're set for life. So rook E1, of course, prepares for some kind of a discovery. I have to confess, I wasn't a believer at first, but boy, Levon really...
Visual domination. What I love about this is the way that the pawns, the D5 and the E6 pawn, it's not about them queening, it's about them restricting the black pieces into the defense. Normally we would have a way to swing our queen or a rook over to the defense, but we can't because those pawns are a phalanx blocking our defense.
Yeah, it's like they cut the board in half. The rook on A8 was trapped off the board. And by the way, I do expect we're going to see a draw by repetition between Garry Kasparov and Sergey. The last two games are very happy to trade off one of White's bishops. Gary wanted to preserve his bishop, so he just played the move bishop b6. However, I'm just looking now. No, I was just double checking that knight c7 didn't walk into a double attack. There is the move bishop a5 just in time. You take the bishop, I take your knight, and I've got bishops of opposite color where white is certainly not worse in that case. So if I were black, I would probably see, ooh, not bishop f7. Sergey, he's playing for the win. He has just played the move knight f4. He's saying, I am not satisfied with the draw. I see the repetition, but I don't want it.
We've got bishop f4, gf4, rook d1 on the board.
Ooh.
So weaknesses for both sides, but that pawn on f4 really sticking out, yes.
Big time, and after the move bishop g6 to e4, a move I really like, he's basically saying this pawn on f4 is restricting white's king. And if black maintains that pawn, first of all, it's a passer, and second of all, what is white doing for active play here?
H4 is what Gary played. So what you're saying is the problem is a move like bishop f5 would simply be met by bishop d5, and that beautiful square for the bishop, which was previously occupied by the knight, now being occupied by the bishop, and your own bishop, Gary's bishop, woeful by comparison.
Agreed.
Also, be careful for that pawn that might drop if we play rook d5 and go after that pawn. If you put a bishop on f5 and we trade and play rook d5 and then take your pawn, also the c5 threat will be in that position as well. So Gary has to be careful for moves. We should point out that Nakamura is
6 by Karyakin, h4 we saw king g6, and now Gary's played the move rook to e1, anticipating that rook takes d4 fails to the simple tactic rook takes e4.
Wow.
But
his eyes are so sharp.
Gotta love those little tactics, right?
And we see the move bishop to c2. We see rook to c1 attacking the bishop. Give me the pawn on c6. Sergey backed up with his bishop, bishop e4, defending his pawn on c6. I think we're about to see the move rook e1.
Again, Gary spotted this. The king shouldn't have been on g6. And Gary's sharp eagle eyes, one player, I think it was Tony Miles, calls him the monster who sees all, spotted the tactic and